Let's begin by telling you that the Rivers Elders and Leadership Forum has called on President Bola Tinubu to call the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike to order over statements capable of igniting crisis in the state. Now, the FCT Minister had made a comment on 31st August 2024 while reacting to the PDP Governors supporting Governor Siminalayi Fubara. And speaking on behalf of Rivers Elders and Leadership Forum, former governor of the state and chairman of the forum, Rufus Ada-George, reminded Wike of the importance of the office he holds and responsibility expected of him by the Nigerian state. The Rivers Elders, in their statement, in an open letter to the president, maintained that the statement credited to the minister is mischievous and unacceptable.
We at this forum believe that the above statement and threats consciously made by Wike to put fire in those states are callous, mischievous, unacceptable, and clearly undermines our democracy and national security. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria guarantees the right to association and free speech to the extent that it is not injurious to the Nigerian state. The oaths Wike swore to on assumption of office protects those rights and caveats. It is rather unfortunate that most of those oaths are now being broken by him. We, the people of Rivers State, stand for peace and peace alone, and we are known to be fire quenchers and not fire setters. To this end, we plead that you use the authority to direct the Inspector General of Police to unlock the 23 local government council secretariats in Rivers State and to allow for a smooth, unhindered operations and delivery of democratic dividends to the people at the third tier of government. Finally, we think you need to address the apparent desperation of Chief Nyesom Wike, who seems to have made grabbing a political conquest that must be achieved by all means. You may need to call your minister to order.
To the lingering fuel scarcity crisis, Nigerians are eagerly anticipating the release of petrol from the $20 billion Dangote Petroleum Refinery as Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, announced plans to lift the product from the refinery on September 15th. NNPCL, however, emphasized that petrol prices will be determined by foreign exchange rate and market forces due to the deregulated nature of the market. While assuring the public of significant petrol supply boost this weekend, with vessels already offloading, the federal government ruled out any plans to fix the price of premium motor spirit PMS. NNPCL notes that foreign exchange challenges have been a major factor driving petrol price fluctuations, which are now regulated by free market dynamics under the Petroleum Industry Act. And to unpack this, we're joined by energy consultant, and that's Sheung Dania. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. I'll kick off by asking what your impression is of this lingering fuel crisis in Nigeria.
It's very sad, it's very deeply concerning, especially putting into consideration the fact that we're now getting a lot of news that the NNPC is broke, knowing fully well that, fuel subsidy is sort of like has still been paid, and the president had announced over a year ago that they put an end to fuel subsidy due to the fact that they did not even have any money for it. It wasn't budgeted for. It's really concerning, and for Nigeria as a country that has crude oil in excess, and we should be able to sustain ourselves, provide our domestic fuel demands, and our dependence on imports. This is the point where we need to draw the line. Nigeria shouldn't suffer for a product that we have in abundance, and just due to lack of administrative efficiency that we are not able to refine our products locally and meet our local demands. It's really saddening, but I know that the government needs to get themselves together.
Well, just to follow your train of thought, I mean, Nigeria, of all the 54 African countries, is the largest producer of crude oil. But ironically, we export this crude and then import petrol. What can we do to ensure that we refine our own crude here and make it sustainable?
It's not rocket science. Everybody knows that the solutions to this is local refining. And sad enough, we've been fixing refineries for God knows how long. I believe that if I go to sort of like advise the government, what it will be is we have a lot of private players within the industry that are willing to invest in infrastructure, invest in refineries, like we've seen the Dangote Group and several others. The government needs to give them a lot of incentives because it's an emergency situation. We need to give them a lot of incentives for them to be willing to bring in. We have a lot of small modular refineries that have actually been built for AGO and the likes. The government needs to actually incentivize businesses, provide enough security for people to be willing to come and invest in the country. That will definitely boost revenue. And so security is one of the major challenges. We need to ensure that people feel safe to be able to bring in their money into the country, invest. And even though we don't necessarily have to guarantee crude supply, but the way it is, I believe that the government can partner with local producers and ensure that they will have local off-takers, which will make it even easier for people to. We don't have to be thinking about shipping products out of the country. We have off-takers who are willing to come and invest in refining here in Nigeria. That way, we'll be able to definitely meet local demand.
Now, talking about refineries, Mr. Daniel, what are your hopes for the Port Harcourt and as well as Warri refineries, which the chairman, and that's the Senate Committee on Petroleum Downstream, in person of Ifeanyi Uba, has assured will be fully operational by the end of 2024. What are your hopes?
I've lost hope, because we definitely, last year we had same promises that by first quarter this year we'll definitely have those refineries working, and then they postponed to sometime in July and then August, and we're not hearing anything. Those refineries are moribund, as most of the consultants who have assessed those situations. I mean, members of the House of Representatives might have gone there on an excursion, so to say. They'll show them around and whatnot, but they don't know what's going on there. They need to actually sit down and discuss. I don't have any hope for those refineries. The plans that the NNPC has, to actually privatize them to whoever it is who's going to buy them, either as scrap or buy them and, to actually make them profitable. But I think clearly enough, we can see that the government has no business in running those refineries. The NNPCL that has also been privatized has not been able to make anything work. So they should just, take hands off of it and allow refineries to go to the private sector. I believe that way we'll then be able to, and they should just, provide what government should do, regulation, provide probably access to crude oil, also security, and then focus on the major things that will allow the private players.
All right. I mean, by way of advice, looking from the outside in now, we understand that the Minister of Petroleum Resources, and that's Hennekin Lokobori, has advised that there is no need for panic buying as fuel will be made available by weekend. What are your thoughts or advice to Nigerians to navigate these very trying times?
Unfortunately, we are here already. So panic buying is not going to make any difference. However, people need this product, right? So it's a situation whereby it's not just for transportation. People do not have power at home, and most people rely on these little PMS generators to have, just the basic things at home: pump water, charge their phones, watch TV, just to relax. They have refrigerators, keep their food fresh, kind of thing. So, I mean, of course, the minister has to speak as a minister. He has to also give hope to the people. But evidently, I think at this point in time, everybody should also be able to reflect. Everybody should relax. They will prioritize on things that are necessary. It's Friday, of course, people want to visit family and friends. But if we know that the situation, if it's not very, very important, I believe that, it will be essential for people to kind of like relax a little bit, not be on the road. You don't have to stock up. We should believe the minister or trust them that there will be availability of petroleum products by the weekend. How that's going to happen, we don't know, because we hear that they owe a lot of the marketers quite a bit of money. But I'm sure that, they've always said they had over 30 days worth of supply. So I'm sure maybe they can be able to pull out the rabbit from the hat. But yeah, technically everyone just needs to relax so that we do not get frustrated from the situation.
All right, thank you so much for your thoughts on the news. Sheon Dania, energy consultant. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
And now let's turn attention to security matters, where Emmanuel Belgudu is currently in Sokoto State. Joins us now to give update on the state of insecurity in the state after bandits abducted over 150 persons few days after the death in the kidnappers' den of the Emir of Gobir, Issa Mohammed Bawa. Emmanuel, good afternoon. Emmanuel, just paint a picture of what the environment is like in Sokoto.
Yes. It's still a very, very, calm environment, even though full of sadness and, of course, some kind of disquiet and some kind of anxiety, and reactions to the visit of the service chiefs to the 8th Division headquarters here in Sokoto. A lot of citizens, today is Friday, prayer day, and, of course, citizens, ran into News Central expressing their opinions about the late Emir and, of course, their reactions. So we have a lot of citizens who are just, who want to air their view on, the coming of the service chiefs, and then, of course, what is actually going on the seat of the caliphate. Okay, ya sunan ka kuma?
Sunana Nasiru Ibrahim mai raba, wannan an kasani Nasiru fa mai goro.
Sa Nasiru. So an samu bakoncin babban hafsa soja tare da ministan tsaro zuwa nan division headquarters a nan Sokoto. Menene muhimmancin bakoncin zuwan su ga mutanen Sokoto da arewacin Najeriya?
Wala alhamdulillah. In dai ya taho mun san za a yi aiki. Saboda bai yiwuwa a ce a yi abu ga banza, a ce abu kawai batutuka a yi ba banza. Kamar ni gani da bakin gadar Sokoto wallahi zuwa abin da ya kai maraɗi na san shi. Na san duk abin da annan, na san garuruwan da annan. Ina da wuri a ce da ina da shi Gwarinyo, ina da shi mai lalle, ina da shi can gaban Gwarinyo sabon birni. Su tike su mi Sokoto is inda jidalin ga yake. Wallahi da a ce a samu tsaro. Taho gare na san wani abu zai faru na zaman lahiya za a samu tsaro. Tabbas na san wala ba abu gaban za. Kuma haka da an kai muna maraba da shi. Allah ya taimaka mai ya kawo mana matsalolin can mu koma da kasuwancin. Ka diba irin yadda mun koma. Na rance Allah na yi uku haka. Amma akan rashin tsaron ga yadda mun koma. To ba ka fara zuwa wani wuri don ga maka zauna ba cikin talaucin ka bisa da ka ta inda za a tare ka ko a yi haya da kai a yi cinikin ka kamar da aka cinikin kwannon goro. Saboda haka Allah ya taimaka musu, ya taimaka mai ya sa wanga abu ya zama abu na mai unhwani gare mu. Mun san in Allah ya so soji bai zama gaban za. In Allah ya so za a samu.
Na gode baba, ya sunanta kuma?
Sunana Nasiru Faya mai goro, Nasiru Ibrahim mai raba.
Okay.
Wanda an nan gidadawa cikin shiyar waziri.
Anan Sokoto?
Anan Sokoto, tabbas.
Thank you. This is Nasiru Raba here in Sokoto. The gentleman just tried to say that he has a lot of, he welcomes the coming of the service chiefs, and of course he hopes that visit of the service chiefs is going to, bring lasting peace. He listed a lot of farmland he has in the Sokoto East, Goronyo, Gwadabawa, and of course Raba, and all those communities within the Sokoto East affected by banditry. That he cannot visit those communities. All his farms have been abandoned in those communities, and if only this visit means that something, at least, of course, he's going to regain back his farmland. I also have another gentleman here who also wants to, air his opinion. Rakadede, an samu bakoncin babban hafsan sojoji da tare da babban ministan tsaro. Menene muhimmancin wannan bakoncin zuwa ga mutanen?
To alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, muna ƙara gode ma Allah subhanahu wataala. Yake sunana Nafi Galadima daga nan shi ya kofarini Sokoto local government jihar Sokoto state. Alhamdulillah mun ji daɗi kwarai da gaske da gwamnatin tarayya ta lura da halin da talakawa da al'umma musamman na gabacin wannan jiha ta mutu Sokoto suke ciki na matsalar insecurity. Ha gwamnati ta bada umarnin cewa ta umarci hafsan sojoji da ministan tsaro da su tari a jihar Sokoto domin a ga cewa an kawo matsalar tsaro da ke addaba wannan jiha ta muna ƙara godiya ga Allah da wannan abin da wannan gwamnati ta yi, kuma su ko waɗannan shugabannin da suka zo wannan jiha muna roƙon Allah subhanahu wata'ala ya kama musu ya ba su ƙwarin gwiwa da kariya ta wannan aiki da suka zo yi a wannan jiha tamu kuma Allah ya ƙara ba mu tsaro a wannan jiha tamu da albarka. Masha Allah.
So he's also appreciating, hoping that the visit, yields another result. And lastly, I have an elderly man here. Lastly, I have an elderly man who also wants to express his opinion. Baba an samu bakoncin babban hafsan soja tare da minista ba zan kima. Ministan tsaro. Ya ta nan baba.
Bismillah.
Menene muhimmancin bakoncin zuwan ministan da tsaro da babban hafsan soja zuwa gare ku mutanen Sokoto da gaba daya?
Mu abin murna na gare mu a ce ya to za su ta mu kamu da game da irin abin da ka damu mu. Saboda musamman Isa da Sabon Birni da Gada da Raba da Gwaranyo mutanen muna cikin wahala. Ko shi ana kai musu hari ana watse su ana kashe mutane ana taya da wasu cikin wurare ana tsariya suna cin daure da sarka cikin daji cikin ana musu ruwa na haka don Allah ya san tawo su yi tsaye a dau matakai na magance mu mutane wanga abu da barin mutanen mu su samu su yi noma a samu abinci mutane na cikin wahala yanzu ko abin da ka ci wanda ya saba shi abinci so uku ga yini akalla yanzu da waya zai samu cin abinci so guda ga yini don haka ya kamata a ce don Allah su dau matakan tsaro da ya dace da hadda zamfara da katsina muna cikin wanga al'amari don Allah su taimaka mana kuma Allah ya bada nasara ga wanga al'amari wani sunana Muhammadu Bello Mesin tsalabawa nan wajen kofar markisiyar mu gidana kuma na yake da iyali na da komai na yake don haka muna roƙo Allah ba su nasara kuma Allah ya taimaka mana Allah sa alheri Allah sa alheri.
So he also mentioned, he's also listing all the troubled areas in Sokoto East, Naibawa, Raba, Gwadabawa, Goronyo. And of course, a lot of places in the Sokoto East who are also trapped. Sokoto East Senatorial District, about 8 local governments, trapped in banditry. I expect that this visit by the service chiefs is going to, bring an end to this. And of course, he insists that the service chiefs must stay, not to go back, even though they have gone back to Abuja already. They should remain, put this, nip this issue in the bud and make sure that Sokoto and the entire Northwest is in peace. So it's a feeling of anxiety everywhere they see New Central. They want to also always add their view and also make sure that their messages, they speak out there to the government to continue to listen to their plight in whatever way they can. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that detailed reporting. Emmanuel Bagudu, our correspondent who is live in Sokoto State. The Katsina State Governor, Diko Rada, has reaffirmed his government's commitment to implementing the new 70,000 Naira minimum wage recently announced by the federal government. He made this known during the Public Engagement 2025 Citizens Budget Participation Process and launching of Community Development Program held in Katsina State. Rada further emphasized his government's dedication to enhancing service delivery in the public sector. He assured the government's proactive approach to employee welfare and public sector efficiency. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has interrogated former Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige over alleged contract irregularities and job racketeering at the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund during his tenure. The ICPC recently summoned top NSITF officials to investigate 47 million Naira gratuity paid to former Managing Director, Mrs. Maureen Alagao, while she was still in service. ICPC spokesman Demola Bakare confirmed that Ngige spent over 5 hours with investigators on Wednesday answering questions related to the awarding of contracts. He was later released after the interrogation. Away from that, the Bauchi state government says that it has reduced the number of out-of-school children in the state from almost 2 million to less than 1 million children, and saying this has been possible through a coordinated approach to improve education in the state. The secretary to the government, while dismissing allegations of non-performance and failing to fulfill its promises to citizens of the state, says that the state government has performed exceedingly well in the areas of infrastructure, education, tourism, and ensuring peaceful coexistence between citizens of different faiths. Our correspondent, Amadine Uyi, tells us more.
With almost 12 million in population, Bauchi is one of the largest states in the country. Also the home of the popular Yankari Game Reserve. Bauchi is the 5th largest state in the country in terms of landmass. While the state has come under the spotlight in recent times, the state government says that much has been achieved in the area of education, especially basic education, as the number of out-of-school children has been reduced to less than 1 million children.
Bauchi State is doing everything it can, and we are still doing it. In our response to the allegation that we have 1.6 million at 2019, we showed that we have reduced it now to 700,000 because we have built schools. We have, in conjunction with the UBEC, the Universal Basic Education Commission, we have our own BASEC in this in Bauchi State that is also doing that. We are building schools, functional schools. We're training our teachers, and that's why Bauchi is getting a lot of support from the international and multinational donor agencies.
The secretary to the state government spoke to News Central Television, saying that much is being done to improve access to healthcare through investment in the state's primary healthcare sector and the building of capacity of healthcare personnel.
We have one functional public health center in each of our wards, and we have 323. And we have gone beyond that. We also have a revolving fund where monies are made available for the drugs and is sold to people, and then the money is being used again without the intervention of government to buy further drugs. So our primary health centers are functioning.
He adds that the state government is already making plans for the future and has ensured that politics does not stall its development.
The council approved a 10-year development plan for the state. His Excellency's vision have been encapsulated right from even before he became governor in My Bauchi Project 1, and then upon his re-election, Bauchi Project 2. And now we have approved a 10-year development plan. So you can see his vision is far beyond his tenure as a governor.
The secretary to the state government further adds that much has been achieved in the area of inter-ethnic and inter-religious collaboration, saying citizens of all faiths are welcome to reside in the state. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The federal government has forecasted 5 days of rainfall that could trigger flooding in 21 states and 123 locations across the country. According to the National Flood Early Warning System Center of the Ministry of Environment, communities downstream of River Benue are advised to exercise caution. The alerts highlight that areas in Benue, Kogi, Anambra, Delta, Imo, Rivers, and Bayelsa are expected to be most severely affected by rains from September 4th to 8th, 2024. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has urged states in the central and southern regions to prepare for potential floods by clearing blocked drainages, constructing temporary flood barriers, and evacuating residents from flood-prone areas to safer, higher grounds. The ongoing security challenges in Nigeria, particularly the tracking of insurgents, kidnappers, and other criminal elements, have raised concerns regarding the effectiveness and perceived bias of the country's security apparatus. And while the government has invested heavily in technology and surveillance systems to combat terrorism and crime, there is a growing sentiment that these resources are disproportionately directed towards monitoring anti-government whistleblowers and dissenting voices rather than addressing rampant criminal activities plaguing the nation. Our correspondent Lekon Obanjo brings us up to speed in this report.
Between 2014 and 2024, several reports reveal that between 33,000 and 35,000 people have died as a result of insurgency, banditry attacks, and abduction, amongst others. Over 7,000 have been kidnapped, with several others missing. As of 2022, over 5 billion naira had been paid as ransom.
Generally, the entire 6 geopolitical zones of the country have, for the past decade, witnessed significant security threats. And that is something that each administration has tried using various strategies to address.
People can't travel safely on the express. People can't go to their farms. Schools are, under attack, in the north. You wouldn't blame the administration solely for that, because you have a problem. You have a problem that has fundamental root cause.
To combat these crimes, in 2015, the Nigerian government and its police force launched an intelligence-led tracking platform to enable real-time monitoring of criminal elements. Several successful arrests were made.
Technology-driven, effort is key. For goodness sake, you have drones, you have tracking devices, you have super cameras. There are many things you have that aid you. What we're talking about now is the political will to deploy such devices, because I know we have the capacity.
Nigeria's former Minister of Information and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, equally launched the NIN-SIM linkage initiative to track terrorists. He was reported to have expressed frustration at the security agencies for not using it for its intended purpose.
When you apply technology, you expose them, you expose their vulnerability, you expose, so they don't want to make it, they don't want to make the system to work, so that it will really go a long way helping our law enforcement to make them, to make an incentive for them to work and deliver. When you want to go for training, the release of funds, the bureaucracy, but the system in this part of the world. They will frustrate you, say there's no budget, no money. So this part does they can create a scene that's insecurity. The president will now under panic, release money. When you release money, you don't give account of how this money is being spent.
Within the period under review, several critics of government, cyber criminals, kidnappers, activists, and even whistleblowers have been successfully tracked and arrested. This now raises the question of bias and commitment towards tackling pressing security threats, most especially as insurgents flaunt monies and ammunition on social media.
There's always a distinction, I have to mention, between a government that wants a policy to end insecurity and at the strategic level where the leadership does want insecurity to end, but at the operational level, whereby personnel are not well, the welfare is not well taken care of. There is that high level of vulnerability for them to compromise.
Maybe the reinforced directive to security chiefs to relocate to the epicenter of insurgency in Nigeria will help deal with wide-scale insecurity. However, citizens believe if technology does not fail, security personnel should then show sincerity and double their efforts in ensuring that Nigeria is safe. In Lagos for News Central, Lekon Onobanjo.
In Nigeria's northeast, Borno State is struggling with about 800,000 children who are not enrolled in any form of education, highlighting the critical gap exacerbated by prolonged conflict and displacement. And during a visit by Save the Children International to support the state with dignity kits, the Commissioner for Education urgently appealed for collaborative action of both local and international support to address the alarming number of out-of-school children in the region. News Central's Umaru Kirawa tells us more.
The plight of these street children remains a major source of concern. News Central recently uncovered how about 800 children remain out of school, according to Borno State government statistics. Save the Children International delivered 1,500 dignity kits to aid in the retention of the girl child in Borno State.
We discovered due to the economic situation, a lot of girls are dropping out of school. And so in our little support to close up the project, we are here to support the government with a little token that we can.
We actually target very poor families with out-of-school children. We give them income-generating activities so that they don't send their children to go out hawking instead of going to school.
In 2021, the report had it that we had 1.8 million children out of school. Today, as it stands, we have less than 800,000. So with combined effort, we have been able to create access for more than 1 million. I was talking to UNICEF the other day. I said, my focus in this school session would be retention. How do we keep them in school? Fine, we have created a lot of access. We have taken 1 million. But if we don't keep this 1 million in school, it will be a never-ending cycle. They will drop out of school.
The government called for increased support and resources from international donors and non-governmental organizations to ensure that all children have access to quality education and a brighter future.
Eventually, those children will end up in schools. How do we deal with children that have seen extreme violence. You see, conventional education textbooks do not teach you things like this. And that is why we need organizations like yours to give us high-level training for us to begin to think of what to do and to step down those kind of trainings to people who would eventually handle these children.
The commissioner emphasized that without immediate intervention, the educational future of these children is at stake as the state government seeks to tackle the challenge. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Despite a drop in sales, Nigerians spent over 500 billion naira on alcoholic beverages in the first half of 2023, with many opting for affordable sachets. But behind these numbers lies a sobering reality of millions of deaths worldwide and a myriad of health risks. News Center's Adeshwa Odushoga explores the culture of alcohol consumption in Lagos, its impact on public health, and the efforts to curb its effects.
Between January to June 2023, Nigerians consumed alcoholic beverages worth 517.29 billion naira, indicating a drop from the 599 billion naira worth of consumption recorded in the same period of 2022. While the consumption rate may be alarming, the possible health risk associated with this is more worrisome. On February 1, 2024, NAFDAC started the enforcement of a ban on alcohol sold in sachet or in less than 200 ml PET bottles to control consumption. However, in Lagos, the most common alcoholic beverages and by far the most affordable comes in sachet form. They are most likely consumed by transport workers. When asked why this is often a go-to choice, they say it helps them take a shift from the economic realities in the country.
I used to drink every minute because this thing is you want to enter person's brain now. That's what I used to drink every minute. Now we cannot afford to pay our baby school fees again.
Frustration, you know,
According to a 2024 report by the World Health Organization, about 2.6 million deaths per year were attributable to alcohol consumption, accounting for 4.7% of all deaths, and most of the victims were men. Health professionals say aside from death, this can also lead to stroke, kidney failure, liver damage, and diabetes.
It makes you lose a lot of water. If you observe people who drink alcohol, they pee a lot. And what that means for the body is that in the course of several flush like that, frequent urination, there is wash up of necessary minerals that are essential for the body. We're talking about potassium, we're talking about magnesium, and these are minerals that are essential for the function of the muscles.
The WHO says alcohol causes nearly 1 in 20 deaths globally each year through drunk driving, alcohol-induced violence and abuse, and a multitude of diseases and disorders. With diverse alcohol consumption habits and lifestyles, it's crucial to raise awareness about moderate consumption to mitigate associated health risks. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Adeshwa Odushoga.
Human Rights Watch has welcomed the release of several Ethiopian opposition politicians from the Oromo region after spending 4 years in detention. The freed individuals are members of the Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, and a group that advocates for the Oromo people who make up about a third of Ethiopia's population but have long felt marginalized. The OLF, which renounced armed struggle in 2018, has accused Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government of closing its offices, obstructing its participation in elections, and imprisoning its leaders. Those released include Abdi Ragasa, Michael Boran, Kenasa Ayana, Lami Binya, Gada Ojira, Gada Gabisi, and Dawit Abdata. Details surrounding this release remain unclear, and the Ethiopian government has yet to comment on the matter. A 14-year-old boy was charged with shooting 4 people dead at a U.S. high school, while his father was charged with manslaughter after the country's latest outburst of gun violence. The teen faces 4 felony murder counts after allegedly killing 2 fellow pupils, also aged 14, as well as 2 teachers at Alapache High School in the southern state of Georgia on Wednesday. The suspect father, 54-year-old Colin Gray, who is also in custody, becomes the latest American parent to face criminal charges after a child was involved in a mass shooting.
With District Attorney Brad Smith, the GBI has arrested Colin Gray, age 54, in connection to the shooting here at Appalachian High School. Colin is Colt Gray's father that was arrested yesterday. He is charged with the following: 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. Mr. Gray, these charges stem from Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son, Colt, to possess a weapon.
And to unpack this, I am joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, can you tell us the latest on this school shooting?
Well, we had the 2 suspects, and I say 2 suspects because of Colt Gray, age 14, and his father, who are being charged in connection to the killing of those 4 people at Alapache High School. Now, they appeared in court earlier on today. Colt Gray, age 14, charged with 4 counts of felony murder. He is being tried as an adult, but because he is under the age of 18, he was told in court that he will not be facing the death penalty, but could face up to life in prison. Now, his father, Colin Gray, appeared in the same court just a few moments later. He was told he is facing up to 180 years in prison for the charges against him, which include 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. Now, the arrest warrant affidavit alleges that he provided his son with a firearm with knowledge that he was a threat to himself or others. Now, Wednesday's mass shooting, which happened just weeks into the brand new school year in the United States, was the 45th school shooting in the US so far, and the deadliest since the March 2023 massacre at the Covenant High School that left 6 people dead. Now, investigators are also saying that there were threats made against 5 schools in that area. They received a phone threat about Alapache High School, but also found that there were other threats made against other schools in the area. Up to 5 other schools in the area are thought to have had threats made against them also.
Well, could we now see precedents where parents are held responsible for school shooting committed by their children?
Well, yes, perhaps we could. Like I said, the charges against Colin Gray, that's Colt Gray's father, stem from the fact that he knowingly allowed his son to have a weapon and knowing that he could potentially be a threat to other people. Now, we did have a case earlier on this year of Jennifer and James Crumbly, who became the first parents in the United States to have been sentenced to prison for involuntary manslaughter because of a shooting that was committed by their child. Now, their child, Ethan, had violent thoughts, but they provided access to a handgun for him, and he used that to kill 4 classmates and injure 7 other people. That was in November 2021, and the parents were sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison each. So we could be entering an era now where we see parents who perhaps allow their children to have access to guns, knowing that they're perhaps not of sound mind. They could also be held criminally responsible for the actions of their children.
Well, gun violence is a big issue for U.S. voters. How are both parties addressing this latest incident?
You're absolutely right. The gun violence is a huge issue and will be when voters are early voting or going to the ballot box in about 60 days' time. Now, polls show that most voters are in favour of stricter controls of certain types of guns, including the AR weapons, the automatic rifle weapons, and the AR-15 that was used in this particular attack. Now, J.D. Vance at rally said that he doesn't like that this is a fact of life, and that he said we have to bolster security in our schools. Now, the Democrats pushed back, especially Vice President Kamala Harris pushed back on that, saying that school shootings are not just a fact of life. It doesn't have to be this way, and we can take action to protect our children, and we will. Her running mate, Tim Walz, also branded J.D. Vance's comment pathetic and saying we can't quit on our kids. They deserve better. So both sides kind of putting their tuppence worth, as it were, into what has happened on Wednesday. But it's clear that stricter gun controls are going to be a huge issue when it goes to the polls in America.
Well, thank you so much for your insight. Our correspondent there, Afia Hagen. Many thanks. In business, Global Africa Business Initiative, GABI, is the premier African private sector-led global platform that galvanizes leaders in the private, public, and social sector to invest in Africa. It is hosted by the United Nations and works to stimulate stakeholders to amplify and reposition Africa's business narrative. On 25th to 26th September 2024, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, Global Africa Business Initiative will be hosting its annual Unstoppable Africa Forum, which aims to amplify opportunities, calling on global businesses, governments, and investors to rally behind Africa's growth vision. A virtual press conference was held prior to the event for the creation of awareness on what to expect.
GABI is a platform. It is not a series of convenings or events. It's truly an action platform, as I'll talk about a little bit later, aiming to bring together governments, private sector, civil society, investors, philanthropy, friends of Africa, truly seize the moment and invest in Africa. Many are doing business in Africa, but not necessarily with Africa. You know, why is this important? I think it's an important time for African history. More than ever, the world is looking at Africa for many different reasons. Market value of over $3 trillion, unprecedented growth and development, an abundance of resources, be they land, be it water, be it critical minerals and opportunities therein, be it the young youthful population, be it a lot of the innovation that we see with young techpreneurs around the continent. There really is an eye focused on Africa. Unstoppable Africa for us is a moment when, because the rest of the world is gathering here in New York, we too want to gather and bring together heads of state, as I said, African private sector, global private sector, investors and philanthropy to train their eye on Africa. We're focusing on five key critical themes this year in Unstoppable Africa and GABI: energy access and energy transition, inclusive growth and trade, digital transformation, the creative industry that covers arts, music, film, and fashion, and sports.
In sport, Nigeria's Onyenyechi Mark has shattered the Paralympic record in the women's 61 kg powerlifting category, lifting an outstanding 145 kg. Now, this remarkable feat surpasses the previous record held by compatriot Lucy Ejike. Mark's performance has all but secured Nigeria's first gold medal in the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, with one lift remaining. Her closest competitor is attempting 138 kg on her final lift, while Mark aims to further extend her record with a final attempt of 147 kg. Team Nigeria has a storied history in the Paralympics, consistently excelling in powerlifting and athletics. At the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics, Nigeria secured 10 medals, including 4 golds. And South African duo Lucas Sithole and Donald Rafadi, who secured Africa's first wheelchair tennis medal after clinching bronze in the quad doubles at the Paris Paralympics, have arrived back in the country. The duo overcame Brazilians Leandro Pena and Yemanti Silva 6-2, 4-6, 10-8 in the bronze medal match to take South Africa's medal tally to 4. South Africa has become the 13th nation to win a Paralympic medal since 1992, when wheelchair tennis became a full medal Paralympic sport.
It's a good feeling. It was a good experience for me and also for Donald. I think we played very well. We keep ourselves disciplined. We stick to our goal. Our goal was simple, was just to go there and have fun and make sure that we in one of the podiums, you know. And and we did that, and we're very happy, you know. And then it was his first Paralympics, and he kept himself in a good shape, and yeah, it was a good experience.
And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Rivers State elders have asked President Tinubu to call FCT Minister Nyesom Wike to order over threats to PDP governors. As Nigeria awaits petrol supply from Dangote Refinery, NNPCL has said prices will be determined by market forces. We also told you that Human Rights Watch hails release of Oromo political leaders from Ethiopian jail. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Adebola Adedugba.